In 1975, a United States Senate committee pulled back a heavy curtain. This committee was officially called the Senate Select Committee to Study Governmental Operations with Respect to Intelligence Activities. Most people just called it the Church Committee, named after its chairman, Senator Frank Church. The committee released a final report. This report contained a bombshell fact. It stated clearly that the Central Intelligence Agency had maintained secret relationships with journalists. The CIA used these relationships for intelligence purposes. This was not a rumor. It was a documented finding from an official government investigation, a cold fact laid bare for the American public to see. The report detailed how the agency had engaged dozens of journalists, stringers, employees of press organizations. Some were paid, some were not. The CIA admitted to the committee that it had used these individuals to gather information. It also used them to plant stories that served American foreign policy goals. This confirmation from the highest levels of government sent a shockwave through the nation. The very institutions meant to hold power accountable were, in some cases, secretly working for it. The news was supposed to be a clear window to the world. Now people had to wonder if that window was a two-way mirror, with the CIA looking back. That was the reality laid out. The seeds of Operation Mockingbird were planted in the fertile soil of post-World War II anxiety. The world was dividing into two camps: United States, its allies; Soviet Union, its communist bloc. Start of the Cold War, a conflict fought not just with armies and weapons, but with ideas and information. American leaders grew deeply concerned about Soviet propaganda. They believed the USSR was manipulating global opinion. The US needed to fight back with its own powerful narrative. The goal was straightforward: win hearts and minds around the world. Promote democracy. Promote capitalism. Discredit communism at every turn. Early CIA strategists saw the global press as a critical battlefield. Influence major newspapers. Influence magazines. Influence broadcasters. Shape international discourse. Not just report events, but frame them to support American interests and undermine adversaries. Use information as a weapon. This effort began shortly after the CIA's creation in 1947. The agency was tasked with more than gathering intelligence. It was also authorized to conduct covert operations. Several key figures within the CIA were instrumental in building and directing this media operation. One of the most important was Frank Wisner. He was head of the Office of Policy Coordination, an early covert action branch of the CIA. Wisner was a primary architect. He was a veteran of wartime intelligence and a fervent anti-communist. He recruited heavily from the Ivy League, building a network of well-connected and influential men who shared his worldview. Wisner famously referred to this network as his mighty Wurlitzer, an organ he could play to send any tune he wanted out into the world. Journalists' media assets. Another central player was Allen Dulles. He served as director of the CIA from 1953 to 1961. Dulles was a master of clandestine operations. He had a background in law and diplomacy. He moved comfortably in the elite circles of journalism, business, and politics. He fully supported and expanded the agency's use of journalists. Under his leadership, the practice became more systematic. Dulles believed that controlling the flow of information was as crucial as any other form of intelligence work. The CIA employed a wide array of tactics to influence the media. The methods ranged from direct, crude, subtle, sophisticated. One of the most common techniques was simply paying journalists for their cooperation. In exchange, they would provide intelligence gathered during their reporting assignments. They might also agree to write and publish stories that were written or heavily influenced by CIA case officers. This created a direct financial link between the intelligence agency and the supposed-to-be independent journalist. Another key tactic involved the creation and funding of front groups. The CIA would establish organizations that appeared to be independent philanthropic foundations, cultural associations, student unions. These fronts were then used to secretly channel money to foreign newspapers, magazines, book publishers. For example, the agency funded the publication of millions of books, including George Orwell's Animal Farm, which were then distributed in Eastern Bloc countries. To the outside world, it looked like a private initiative. In reality, it was a carefully managed CIA operation designed to spread anti-communist ideas. The agency also worked to suppress news stories that it deemed harmful to U.S. interests. CIA officials would sometimes approach editors, publishers, and ask them to kill a story or delay its publication. Many media executives were willing to comply with such requests, believing they were acting in the national interest.